Ladies and gentlemen, I am your host, Don Lucha, and I have a special video today because, as you can see, I am joined by now the former Luchamania World Champion, Jack. And Jack, he wanted to take a moment here. He had some things to get off his chest. So, you know what? We decided let's have a sit down interview. Let's get everything off your chest, Jack. And let's get into the mind of the former world champion. So, Jack, I got to ask you right off the bat, brother. A lot happened on Thursday. Some good, some bad. It really just depends on your outlook on things, but I gotta know. After the dust settles, we are now at least a full day's removed from Luchamania 15 OG3 sold out. So I gotta ask you, what are your immediate thoughts, your immediate reactions? How are you feeling after Thursday's big event?
It's great to be here. First of all, doing this sit down interview with you, right? I know I've made comments in the past, but it's not a bit. I enjoy doing media, being at the forefront of Luchamania. I think it's where I belong, and I do think it's not to sound stereotypical in wrestling, but best for business. And it's been a lot to process. Like you said, a lot of good and a lot of bad. I do think, believe it or not, this doesn't sound like a guy who just lost his world championship, but I think a lot more good than bad, honestly. The worst part to me, two things. Number one, obviously losing Mac, right? The feel of betrayal, the lack of morals that we kind of witnessed there. That hurt. And then losing the world title, that's something I'm not worried about, right? In terms of getting it back, I can add another accolade to my list when I win it back, right? 3-time champion. When I beat Mac for it, that'll still leave me as the only guy who's ever successfully defended the thing, right? The only reason I'm really upset that I lost it is because I would have loved to have that reign go longer. I know I'm the longest reigning, but you want to set that standard high so when somebody else never has a chance to break it. So that kind of sucks. But yeah, no, I'm looking forward to winning it back. And this isn't like an excuse thing. You hear this from some guys in the locker room, right? Like you have to, well, you only beat me with this. Well, I got eliminated. Like I know how the game works. I'm not saying Mac only beat me in a game of 50-50 like chance and deceit, right? I'm not saying that's what happened, but when I look at it for myself and how I build off that, I'm glad that happened that way. Like me and Mac still have yet to go one-on-one, mano y mano, in like a true Luchamania. We've played a game, a triple threat, I believe. Or no, you know what? It was the Eliminator with 5 people. It came
Yeah.
down to me and Max. So we played each other one-on-one a little bit. He was involved. Prograps, great competitor, former champion, was involved. We'll talk about him a little more later. That's exciting. And Midcard was in that too, I believe. So I faced Mac, and then obviously we have the history, right? Pre-Luchamania, playing these style of games. Mac used to have my number, but I do think we're in a different time period. So it'll be interesting to see what'll happen when we're not playing, lie, cheat, steal. So yeah, it wasn't an all bad night. And like you said, the end to close the show out, right? Pro G3, OG3, Pro G3, Pro Grap. So I am excited about that.
I like that. And yeah, you just mentioned it right here, Pro G3. We'll get into that in just a little bit here. But real quick, so on Thursday, you had your main event matchup in Krug. And it was 5 rounds, Jack, and you survived 5 tough rounds with Krug. It was back and forth up until round number 5, where you just pulled away and showed what it takes to be a champion. You got it done, and you retained your title. But then after 5 rounds of survival, Jack, you went and you just lost it all in just minutes. Does that feel like it was a cheap win to you? Or is that just the luck of the game and that's just how things work?
Yeah, I kind of touched on it earlier. I don't want to call it cheap because, like I said, I respect the rules and the things you earn around here. And Mac earned the Golden Mask. I understand how the Golden Mask works. It's not a guaranteed world championship. I've had that cashed in on me before from Krug, who I beat. This was a different game. I actually don't know. I've never held the Golden Mask myself. Never even competed in a match for one. I don't know if Mac got to choose his game or what that was. I honestly don't care. I don't think cheap's the wrong word. Mac did like what anybody else would do in that situation in terms of cashing in. But it's again, yeah, without like totally downplaying it, I feel good about how it happened. If that's how I lose my title, that's still not showing that anybody's like really beating me in the games, and I can always just win it back.
It's
So
true.
I don't think it cheapens it, but I do think for my confidence and kind of just as a message to everybody else out there, um, like I haven't changed, you know. I'm not some what did we say back in the past? I'm not just some bum who keeps fucking losing. Like I had a
Right.
period. I remember you said that to me yourself, Don Lucha. That's kind of
Yeah.
what changed everything at the end of a game long back. Yeah, you know, Jack's kind of fucking sucked lately, even won anything. You know, I was a little offended at first. Then I looked at the history and I was like, man, we got to step it up. And the only way I
Hey.
could get myself into a world title game was using the rematch clause I had. And
Hey.
it's been fire ever since. So maybe
I
I owe you thanks for that.
I do remember exactly what you're talking about, Jack. You were on a I there's no other way to put it. You were on a bad losing streak. You had won the title, you were the first champion, and then not even a week later, it just so happened you lost it. And then from that moment, it took you a while to recover. And like you said, maybe that was the little kick in the behind that you needed to turn things around. Because from the moment that that comment was made, you became champion, right? You cashed in your rematch clause. You became champion, became the longest reigning world champion in history. Not only that, you also doubled up on your history, Jack. You became the only to date, the first and only double champion in Luchamania history. So that just shows what a little motivation can go a long way for you in this Luchamania games. But keeping on the subject of Mac and the cash in, is this something that you saw coming like a while ago, or did it catch you by surprise? I need you to be honest.
No, I saw the cash in coming. Me and Mac were talking for a week there in between Climb and Crumble and sold out the two events a week apart.
Yeah.
When he won that, we were immediately in talks one on one privately in the OG3 group chat. It was pretty clear that he was going to cash in no matter what. We were kind of on the fence of if it was Krug, he was going to cash in on him right after. If it was me, he wanted to cash in after, but he also kind of wanted to do the John Cena route, right? The
Oh,
humble, announce the next week's main event. But then the day of, he told me, I think I'll be cashing in no matter what. I can't wait. And I respect that. You know, I know Mac. I've known him for a long time. We're very similar in terms of like being a competitor, wanting to win at these things. I
yeah.
think we're two of the best in the game. The OG3 was me, Pete, and Mac for a reason. That's the top three around, you know. And Ron's on the come up now, and I think things are going to turn for pro grabs drastically. You can kind of already see it a little bit, but so I knew he was cashing in, and just the way the game went down, you know, like I said, we're not going to jump too much into this, but some moral things, right? And then it was more so the this faction. What are they calling themselves again?
The new faction is going curtain call. It's going by
Curtain
curtain
Call,
call. Yeah,
right?
curtain call.
Yeah. So Curtain Call caught me off guard because I knew Mac. I kind of could get a vibe Mac and Pro Grab or not Pro Grabs. I'm sorry, Mac and Mid Card. There was a friendship
Oh
there,
yeah.
and I don't dislike Mid Card. Well, it's changing a bit, but at the time, I never had a problem with Mid Card. He had a problem with me, but he liked Mac and Mac liked him. So that's cool. But then, you know, there were some discussions and like, unfortunately I had to talk, me, Pete and Ron were talking on the side, day of the event. I'll let you in a little bit. Cause it doesn't matter now. It's all said and done, right? The line's been drawn, battle line. We were talking a bit. We were like, hey man, like, and it was Pete. I know people say that Pete likes to talk a lot and generate, what is it? Pete
Yeah.
was saying for days, man, he said, yo, we gotta get Mac out. We need a plan. I'm like, you know, like
Mm.
I'm like, what if I was the one and I was wrong? I was wrong. I'll admit it. I hate to be wrong, but I was like, nah, like Mac's gonna cash in on me, but like, that's cool. That's OG3 comp, you know. Um, he turned, you know, mid card showed up at the end of the show. I was like, whatever. Then Blackhawk showed up. Like, okay. And then Crew showed up, right? And this is I do respect Krug, right? It may not come off that way sometimes, but I think you've seen it in the games. Krug and me, I think, do have a bit of a respect for each other with just the competitive drive, and I think we are a lot closer than people would think. I know I have all the accolades and everything, and Krug really has yet to win much. But you see it out there. That's not a dig. That's not a dig. It's just the facts. It's a lot closer than people would think. He challenges me every time, just like Prograps used to when we had that feud.
Oof.
But I saw Krug join in. You know, I look at it as maybe a bit of desperation, right? Same with Blackhawk. You know, Blackhawk has not won. And again, this is not bad talking. It is simply reading off facts. You shared some stats with us the day before OG3 sold out. Blackhawk and Midcard both do not have good singles records. They have not actually. They're popular amongst the fans. They are prominent. They're on every show. They're workhorses. Um, Blackhawk had the golden mask, and I can't believe he never cashed in on me. Especially when it got announced he would have to defend. Like I don't know what he was doing, and he lost it to Mac, who's his new his new hero, his new
Yeah, I
leader.
don't know
His I
what
don't really know
the.
what's going on there. Daddy is the word being thrown around.
See,
Krug's
you just brought up an interesting fact, Jack, and you just brought up Blackhawk and Midcard's singles records, and I'm looking at it here. With his loss on Thursday, Blackhawk is now officially 1-6 in a singles competition, and Midcard is currently with his win now 3-5 in singles competition. So a little bit of progress on Midcard's side, but Blackhawk definitely is struggling with a 1-6 record, as you just pointed out.
And I was going to touch on mid card in a second too. But with Blackhawk and then with Krug, Krug's a good singles competitor. We've seen. I mean, Krug has beaten Pete before, right? That's a big feud going on right now. I try to kind of stay out of it sometimes because it gets a little too crazy. But again, Krug had a golden mask and failed to cash in. But Krug hasn't held any other titles. He just lost to me, and you kind of know, like we saw what happened with Prograp's rematch against me. It's like once you lose again, there's a lot of guys vying for that. It can mean back of the line. So I think Krug made a smart business decision, but it also kind of feels like riding the coattails of someone like Mac. And then we get to Midcard, who, like you said, he's getting up there 3-5. We'll never know. I don't know if they'll be honest about it because I've learned now that you can't trust Mac. He's not honest. Did Max throw the Heritage title match against Midcard? I mean, who knows? Midcard might have just smoked him at the end, but like, man, that's not like Mac,
Right.
That's not like him to lose a game like that, right?
Right.
So I just see three guys who were all a little, not even desperate, but I always knew something was going to happen. A group needed to be formed to take on the OG3. But the OG3 was three of the best: me, Pete, and Mac, and the young lion, Ron. And this group kind of seems like Mac. Maybe Mac couldn't accept the whole equals thing we have going on in OG3 because Mac seems like a very clear leader to me. He calls himself like he's been calling himself like a prophet or something, I think. And then he's with three guys who, for lack of a better word, have yet to accomplish. I can't say they are three of the best that we have here. They're great competitors. They're great. They're popular with the fans. They bring in ratings. They have audiences from outside of Luchamania that come in to watch them.
Right.
So I don't know.
No, well,
I don't know, man.
That's interesting because my next question for you, with Mac and the OG3, was he ever truly OG3, or was this like something you guys always saw coming and always kept them at a distance about? Because I've seen the dynamic with OG3 firsthand between you, P, and Mac as it once was. And while you guys may have on the surface been like, we're three united individuals, there's no real leaders, we're just three, together. From the outside looking in, I kind of got the vibe, and many people in Luchamania got the vibe, that maybe Mac was more of a backseat role compared to you and Pete. But you, Pete, and Mac are truly the only ones that can really touch on it, knowing that you guys were a part of the group together. What was the dynamic like? Was he really a part of OG3 like that, or was it something that you guys kept him at a distance?
Yeah, to me he was, and I appreciate the outside perspective too. I find that interesting because we had plans internally, right? Like once I got past the Prograps and Krug stuff, Pete and Mac were consistently like 1-2, between 1 and 3 in the power rankings with myself, and I was ready to throw them world title matches. I was ready to freebird the tag titles. Mac really wanted the Heritage title, and we let him go after that. He wanted Golden Mask. Me and Pete were like, yeah, cool. Ron at the time was busy graduating. Young Lion, he is now graduated, by the way. Yeah. Congrats to Ron. When he's back from Paris, maybe we'll have a little shindig, a little celebration. But to me, yes, Mac was. I think he was OG3 at one point. You'd have to ask him because I don't know if he ever felt he was. But I thought he was. He was putting in a lot of work with this tour bus stuff and some graphics and some merch. And I know him and Pete had their differences, but that's like any brotherhood, right?
Yeah.
So I think at one point he was. I think in the last few weeks, though, like I said, unfortunately, this isn't some like, oh, we saw it coming. It's more just like, unfortunately, when you're on top like that, you got to have eyes in the back of your head. You always got to be prepared, have a plan B. And just Mac was just showing his hand a little bit sometimes too much with, especially with mid card, I think. So we just had to be prepared. And it hurts. It does. I'm not gonna lie, like, it doesn't hurt. Like I'm not gonna sit here and bullshit you and no sell it. Like fuck Mac, he meant nothing to me. Like no, that's my guy. I'm still a little like confused, like what the hell, man. But
Well, actually, that's actually a good thing to continue with, because you're giving away how that made you feel and everything. And this next question that I have for you perfectly aligns with that, because after the actions, and Mac has been vocal in saying that the reason why he's left OG3, at least with everything that's gone on, is mostly due to the fact of Pete, not so much you. So how personal is it now that the problem was never really with you, but he used you as the tool to get to where he wanted to be? If that makes sense, if you understand what I'm
yeah,
asking.
that is the yeah. It's very personal to me, honestly. Because like you said, he used me as a tool, and he turned his back on the team. Like OG3 is a united front. We were looking at approaching Prograps to join while Mac was still with us.
Oof.
So like that wasn't a replacement thing. We can get touch on that later. I think you were going to ask me about that soon
Yeah.
here. We sat down before we rolled the cameras, but no, like this was a growing unit. And no, it is personal. He kind of ruined what the OG3 had. And he used me to catalyze it. And he could say it's like Pete, and I think he's like trying to be cool with me, and maybe
Yeah.
that's because maybe he's a little scared.
Yeah.
Maybe he's a
Right.
little scared. He could say it's on Pete, but here's the thing: I never heard once that him and Pete tried to like hash that out in the group chat, one on one with each other.
Mm.
I don't think any effort was ever made. I just kind of thought like it is brothers fighting, and we're all grown men. I want to let them take care of their own thing. I'm not gonna be one to say like you guys need to settle this. Like I thought people could kind of just take some punches and jabs and jokes. It's not like Mac never made any jabs at Pete either. But hey, if it's that personal, maybe they got to settle it. But here we are.
Right, right, right. Well, you know what? We talked about it before. You mentioned how Mac created the new faction, Curtain Call, with now him as the leader, mid card, Blackhawk, and Krug by his side. But that wasn't the only move made on Thursday at OG3 Sold Out, because to the surprise of Don Lucha, to the surprise of everybody in the Luchamania universe, OG3 did not take any time, did not waste any time in making a corresponding move, as right away it was announced that OG3 has gotten Prograps to join the team, and now officially are being rebranded from OG3 to Pro G3. And you had also said it, Ron is now an official member of the group, having
Yes,
graduated
sir.
from the dojo. How important is this addition of Prograps to the team, as well as Ron's graduation up until now a main member of Pro G3? But also, was this always in the plans, or was this more of a counterattack due to what Mac and Curtain Call had just accomplished minutes before?
Yeah, I'd kind of touched on it a little earlier. I think it for sure comes off like a counterattack. I think with the urgency of it may have been more of a we got to make a statement, we got to do this now.
Right.
But I'd mentioned in the last question, Pro G3 talks had been like a thing amongst the group of the OG3 for a while. None of us had approached him yet. I kind of felt like it was on his mind. A lot of people in the Luchamania locker room tend to show their hands, and Prograps is another guy who I think was on a bit of a slump. He was looking for something. And, the guys that he was teaming with and aligning himself with wasn't working for him. Like I personally, just from what I saw playing that tag team match, defending against him on Thursday earlier in the
Yeah.
night, right? I don't know if Steven did the best job with Prograps. Mid card, there's a lot of personal animosity between mid card and Prograps. I think mid card left Prograps out to dry. Prograps was stuck with like Looney at one point, dude. We never really got to see Prograps, and Krug would always talk about this New York connection, these New
Yes.
York roots. Hell, I'm known for calling them New York sewer rats at one point, right? We say a lot of things around here, but that never came to fruition. I don't know what Krug was like doing. Like, where's the sense of urgency? Somebody's got to take down the OG3. I was waiting for it. And we've always like it's OG3 is not like a we hate this person, we have this feud, like you've seen it before in our like locker room. We're constantly throwing stuff out there to guys
Yeah.
like Enta Bobashi and OG3 says no. Krug G3, like Krug spelled that's been offered. He says no. I've made comments to mid card. We've made Pro G3 comments for weeks. And so it was something we wanted to do. I think I could see the gears turning. We wanted to get him in here because Prograps is a former world champion.
Yes.
Prograps is
Yes.
like me. We have 3 world champions in our history: myself, Prograps, and Mac. OG3 is always about, like I said, when Mac was in, it was the three best. It was greatness, you know. Progress isn't some bum. He's on a losing streak. Guess who was on a losing streak and got called a bum once? Me.
We've seen this
And
recipe before, right?
we have two world champions. Pete is world championship caliber. I think, unfortunately for Pete, he's got. So Max, right? Pete gets himself in a lot of trouble with some guys. Right? Pete gets caught up in these side quests. He's got to take these guys out, man. Krug's on his neck, and all these guys. Max on his neck now. Apparently, Steven. Like, where did that come from? Right? So Pete's world championship caliber for sure. I just don't think the match has come around yet for him. He's busy with some other stuff. Yeah. He's in Dubai a lot, right? He's in like no double bookings for Pete. That's our man. Pete's a legend in the business. That's why he's got the biggest contract. It took so much to bring him back with all those bells and whistles on his contract, man. But no, Progress, very excited for it. I think it was something we were looking at for a long time, and then the communication was instant. Pete just made the call that night, and Progress accepted it. He was willing and ready, so it was obviously on everybody's minds.
I like that. Well, counterattack or long-term plan, no matter how you see it, ladies and gentlemen, it is without a doubt, Pro G3 is looking to make some noise. I like that. Well, Jack, here we only got a few questions left, so I just want to get back into what's to come now in the future for Luchamania. We talked about what just happened, and now we're looking forward to the future. This Monday, we have Luchamania 16 coming up, and while it is still unconfirmed what your match will be, you at least know that you will be competing for a major championship, whether that be you defending your tag team titles or you going back for your world title. That will be announced tomorrow, Sunday, February 8th, Super Bowl Sunday. It will be announced what our big matchup, main event matchup will be for Monday. But knowing that whether you will be competing either for your world title that you just lost, or trying to keep your tag team titles, no matter what, you know that one person standing across the ring from you will be your once old teammate, now big rival, the new Luchamania world champion, Mac. How does it make you feel knowing that you're going to get him back not even a week later, and you have a chance to not only get back your world title, but also prove to him that he's a fluke, all of that was for nothing, and he's going to end up regretting the move of leaving OG3?
Yeah, you said it great right there. You know, we've talked about it in OG3 and Pro G3. I'm still getting used to it, man. Yeah. What a time! What a time in Luchamania, right?
Right.
Hell's frozen over, as they say. We're gonna nip it in the bud, right? We talked about already that we can clean this up so fast, right? If we have the tag team title match on Monday, we retain. Why should those guys be next in line again? Right. If we do the world title match, I take back what's mine from Mac, and then maybe I gotta face him again. You know. In terms of the heritage, Progress, I believe, is next in line for it. You said it yourself, I think. So Progress can go get that within the next couple of weeks, maybe. We're working on something for Ron, right? Ron's looking to qualify for maybe, I think myself, Ron, and Progress have all been mentioned for potential Golden Mask qualifiers down the line. Yeah. So the Golden Mask will be back. Maybe we can use that to get the world title or the heritage title if needed. But like, this is going to get cleaned up so fast. And these guys, this ragtag group that all join Mac are just going to realize so fast, like, what are we doing? And I've seen them. Some of them can't get along. And I think they're just going to see Mac for what he is. He's calling himself a prophet. I think he's a false prophet. You know, it's gonna be a bad look, and they're gonna be left titleless, directionless, maybe a little confused, right? A little, why did I do that? But I hope they have to stick with it. You know. Maybe curtain call can be.
I like that.
A lower card act. I don't know. Maybe we get some of these singles guys. I got to give the guys in Luchamania credit that like aren't aligned to a faction. Maybe some of these guys can work their way up. I just think it was a big move to make at the end of Luchamania 15. OG3 sold out, right? Attention grabbing, viral highlights. Mac's the guy now on the posters and everything. But it's just the foundation isn't there like the foundation is with Pro G3 and formerly OG3, and I just don't think it's going to hold up.
Well, for this tag match that might happen on Monday, Jack, you know that Mac is one half of the opponents that you'll be facing, but it has
Isn't that interesting?
It has been
I'll ask
announced.
you a question here in this interview. Do you think that's interesting?
I think it's fate. I think it's fate what it is, honestly. I think it just lined up perfectly, and now's the time to do it, you know? Mac is on his belt collector era. It seems like that's what he wants to do. That's what he's on his mission to, whether that be him himself or just curtain call as a whole. but he wants this tag match, and he's been asking for this tag match, and well, now's the time to do it. But one thing that's for sure is that his tag team partner will not be coming from Curtain Call. It is somebody that we have yet to see in the Luchamania universe, somebody who you may or may not be familiar with, somebody that Pete may or may not be familiar with. The uncertainty of who Mac is teaming with. How can you prepare for that? Do you have anybody in mind who you think he might bring out? What is your strategy knowing that you really don't know much about who his tag team partner would be?
Yeah, there's been some names thrown around. I think you can only prepare for so much. We can prepare for Mac, right? I'm not too worried about it. It's more of like the kind of the bells and whistles of Curtain Call, right? Why is it Mac? That's what I think. Mac's fighting for the tag titles with a mystery partner. Not any of the three guys he approached to be in this group with him that just literally all showed their face and had a big reveal at the end of the last show. I don't think he trusts them. I really, and not in a way like they're going to turn on him, like how we didn't trust him. Like, Mac, we don't trust you. He trusts them. They're not going to turn on him. That's their leader, I don't think he trusts him in the big spotlight, man. He can't even put any of them to team with him, let alone he himself has to be there. He has to be on that team. Me and Peter are tag team champions because that's just the way the card fell, and we were gonna we still can freebird this is different, Mac is like, it's got to be him for the tag title shot, and no, not with you mid card, not with you Blackhawk, not with you Krug. It's like, who's he bringing to the top with him? Who even knows what's going on, and that's a Curtain Call problem. If they're cool with it, that just says more about them than anybody else. So,
oof. Well, there we have it, folks. One last question for Jack. Pretend I'm not sitting in this chair, Jack. Pretend it is Mac sitting in this chair. My last question to you. What do you have to say to Mac heading into Luchamania 16 and beyond?
Well, depending on what title we're going for, it all goes the same, right? I'm going to beat you. We're going to beat you. Pro G3 is going to beat you. Going to expose your group for the frauds that they are. Maybe the rest of your group aren't frauds. Like I said, maybe they're just misled. But maybe you're the fraud, right? I do believe that Mac is a false prophet, whatever he advertises himself as. And that's going to be proven on Monday. It's going to be proven very quick. This is the first Monday Luchamania show, and like, this shit's not even going to last a week turnaround, man. It might be the shortest. It could, if it's the world title, it's going to be the shortest world title reign in history. If it's the tag team mystery thing, it's just, no matter how the cookie crumbles, man, it's going to be exposed as fraudulent. And I'm personally really excited for that. I think there's just a lot of hype around it, behind it right now. Like I said, social media talk, group chat talk. It's going to let down a few people when it's not what they thought it was. An OG3, Pro G3 is still on top. You're getting used to it, man. It's crazy. I love Progress, man. I know we had our feud, but I'm fucking excited for him to be here. But yeah, that's what I'll say. If I had to pick one word, it'd probably be fraudulent.
I love that. Well, Jack, I want to say thank you very much for taking time and sitting down with me today, getting your thoughts off from Luchamania 15, but also from looking forward to Luchamania 16 and beyond. Whether you're competing for the tag team titles, trying to defend them and retain them on Monday, or whether you're going back for your world title on a Monday, we will find out tomorrow. We will find out what it will be. And sooner or later, Jack, we will have this conversation once again, and we'll find out whether or not you are once again the world champion, the first ever 3-time, or you're still tag team champion. You lost them. We're going to come back and reconnect. But thank you, Jack, for the time. I appreciate it, man. I appreciate everybody for watching. Make sure you guys tune in to Luchamania 16 this Monday, February 9th, over at twitch.tv/LDonLucha, 7:30 p.m. Central Time. Make sure you're there. I'm Don Lucha. This is Jack. See you guys real soon.